Hello, Wandering Beekeeper here. And we're putting up a little bit of rain. Since we're out in the desert, we're not actually getting rained on. Welcome. We are going for another round with the Psi spellcasting mod. Before we get into tutorial 6, Explosion, we're going to try to build a better rod. Saw last time that the rod that we are using is just not up to it. So, we're going to look at a Psi metal rod frame. Let's just clear our workbench. And we're going to make a Psi metal frame. That's going to give us a potency of 250, which will allow us to cast forward more with its distance of 5. We also want to look at a new crux. If we're going to go to a better, see what goes into the bright crux. Glowstone, I think I have. Oh, slightly better. Slightly, I'm not sure. I have some glowstone sitting around somewhere. I just have to think where I put it. I've got so many magic systems going here. There we go. There's our glowstone dust. We'll just take that. Botania doesn't actually need it. I'm not actively working in Botania at this point. Although I am charging up the monopools. Yeah, they're coming along. I'm gonna get that monopool charged up more so that I can charge up my Terra Shatter. I heard a skeleton. Where did I hear a skeleton from? He's up in the tower. I'm not going to mess with him. Ugh. Let's get out of that and over to here. We needed glowstone. Let's see. The bright crux puts one of these in the middle. Glowstone to either side, and a gold ingot up down, and there's our crux. Notch. Go for the medium. It's going to take a glowstone, 2 Psi metal, and 3 wood. Excuse me. Our notch. And since we know, put a source on it, let's go find our sources. There we go. Glowing rod source, sparkling rod source. Okay. That one. All the bees. Sourceful bees. Oh, come on, don't do that. There we go. There's a sparkling source. Go out to the structure. Load in our frame. Efficiency of 85%, that's way better than our original 70. It's also a 10% boost over our gold frame. Potency goes all the way up to 250. Bright Crux gives us a complexity of 20 and a projection of 4. We can use 4 tricks in a single spell and total of 20 glyphs. And with the medium notch, our bandwidth goes up to 6. We've got a 6x6 space. We've actually got 36 spaces, and we can only have 20 glyphs, so we're good. 8 spots. And we get a 200 point overflow. What was that? I heard a sound. Besides the sound of making the... I thought I heard like a pillager or something. Let's not take too many chances here. So, here is our Psi metal frame, rod frame. Let's take this rod, put it over here. Nothing in it that we need. New one, but forward more in it. We'll go put away this rod. Let's not take chances. And the Psi metal rod with forward more in it still doesn't work. Why not? Why did it barf? No debug message. It's barfing. I don't know why. Alright. Well, it's a demo spell. That's it. We'll just huck it out. Let us move on to... Everybody loves explosions. What could possibly go wrong? I've seen it. This is why you do not put a spellcasting device in your hotbar until you are ready to use it. Spellbooks and wands must be treated like live ordnance. I have blown up my own lab from right-clicking the wrong book. Thought I was pulling up the instruction guide, hit the spellbook instead, and set off an explosion in the middle of my workshop. It took a lot of effort to salvage what I could, and then I had to rebuild, and I lost a bunch of stuff. It was destroyed in the explosion. This is why Workshop Nouveau doesn't look quite the same as the usual blacksmith house. Been rebuilt. So, we're going to clear out a grid, mount the grid, and we're going to put a trick explode near the middle. Trick explode. It needs a position, it needs a power. A vector, and a number constant. A vector to determine where it's going to go off, and a number to determine how hard it's going to go off. We don't want to do entity look. Okay, we'll start off with the constant. Let's just put a constant here. Give it a value of 2. And our power comes from the constant. That's set. Operator returns a unit vector. Trick explode needs a position, so feeding, it's not going to work right. Entity position. Yeah. vector raycast. A vector, a position vector, and a ray vector. Okay. We're going to try and do this the way they want it. We need an operator vector raycast. Let's see how this works. Operator vector raycast, and you'll pull position from that. Vector raycast now needs input. Needs an operator entity position and an operator entity look. Okay, so we need to take ray and hook it up to entity look. Need an entity look. What am I looking at? Hook ray to entity look. Hook position to entity position. Okay. And we have to have a selector caster to determine what entity we're referencing. And it compiles. So, explosion of power 2 is going to occur at the point that we're currently looking at out there. We hope. This looks a little rough here. Help it. Took the focusing rod out. There we go. So, we have a complexity of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The connectors do not count. Potency of 140, well within our 250. Cost of 420, yay. 494 probable actual cost because of the efficiency of our frame. 1 trick out of a possible 4. 4 across out of a possible 6. This all works. It compiles, and it should cast. So, preferably something you don't care much about. Try not to cast it at your own 2 feet. Something along these lines. Okay, I did it a little differently in the layout, but it's the same basic thing. The important thing being that it all feeds in. Oh, this is an important one. Distance. You can only go up to 32 blocks away from your focal point. In this case, the focal point is the caster, so we can only cause this explosion up to 32 blocks away. To get it further, we have to use a projectile node. The projectile node launches the focal point, not the spell, bear in mind. It does not launch the spell. It launches the focal point. That focal point can travel up to 200 blocks away. Wherever it impacts, wherever that projectile smacks into something, becomes the focal point, and the spell begins running. The process begins running at that spot. it then can go out 32 blocks from there. So if we used a really big explosion, we could have theoretically an explosion radius of 32 blocks and have it happen 200 blocks away. Theoretically. I am not putting an error suppressor. I do not want things to fail silently. We want things to debug. Experienced mages can do terrifying things after all. Okay, well, that concludes the tutorials with the explosion spell. We have, that's a use node. I need a spell node. I want a standard spell node. So it's Psi paper, and there we go. There's my node. Here, Akashic guide there. I left it named Lesser Infusion. Others. Let me rename it. Let's rename it Lesser Kaboom. There we go. Now, Rod Constructor in the slot. Drop in the Lesser Kaboom. That back in, make absolutely sure that I do not have the rod selected in the hotbar. That is now live ordnance. Extremely dangerous. We're going to flit out here and go find something we don't particularly care about, like this pile of sand here. That is reasonably potent. What I would like to do is to build a boom bolt. So, we will plan for the spell to be loaded into a projectile node. So the explosion will happen at the impact point. Need to refigure things. And we'll go from there. This does go further into vectors and an evaluation order, and we'll tackle that next. There are 2 more tutorials. And then we get into some really ungainly stuff. Okay. Cool. Which is, a varnish allows you to change the color of your spells. Generate a style. And then this gets into secondary operators, trigonometry, legacy entries. Okay. Oh boy. A lot left to do. We've done enough. We have blown stuff up. We've built a new rod. We've advanced considerably as spellcasters. This is enough for now. I'm going to go back to the drawing board and do some roughing out and figure out how to do the boom bolt that I want, where it causes an explosion 200 blocks away, and then we will see what we do. Until next time, I am the Wandering Beekeeper. Well.